Welcome, listeners, to the Gamer Headline Show. Gamer Headlines is a weekly entertainment podcast. This is episode 35. I'm one of your co-hosts, Adnan Riaz. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, Chris Cortez.
You know, I was prepared to, possibly sing something from,
Les Mis.
Les Mis, but, I honestly, dude, I don't, even if you had referenced it, my mind is so on games right now. And E3 that you did a smart move, because I would have been like, enough of that, Adnan. We have things to talk about. Enough talk. How about you, Snake? Soccer and blue. Dude, holy shit. So before we begin, guys, we gotta kind of give you this is a very special episode today. We're not following our usual format, our 3-act format. So don't worry, that'll all be back next week when we return for a new episode. But this week we wanted to focus all of our attention on what's been released so far at E3. So for you guys to get an idea, it's June 17th right now that we're recording this. So all of the 8 conferences have happened already, and we've seen the majority of them. And we wanted to just kind of sit down and talk to you guys on our impressions on the conferences, as well as news that popped up outside of the conferences and things like that. And it's basically, this is just a giant E3 2015 special for Gamer Headline Show. And dude, oh my god, Adnan, I guess we'll go ahead and we'll start with day one, which was...
I mean, before we actually get into that...
Right.
How would you feel about E3, just generally?
Yeah, in general, dude, I really think this is one of the best E3s we've had. Only because it's weird, not as a whole, because there are things in E3 like every other E3 that's hit or miss. That's how I think any trade show, Gamescom, Tokyo Game Show, E3, there's always hit or miss moments when there's stuff that's hyped up that doesn't come to pass, and there's stuff that's hyped up that does successfully hit the mark. And I think this E3 was unlike no other. But there are things that when we get into the nitty gritty that were announced and that were talked about at this E3 that has made this one of the most memorable E3s for me personally in a very long time. I mean, this has put faith back into E3 for me, because I've kind of been getting tired of it for a while. I just always felt like it was the same shit every time. But yeah, that's kind of how I feel overall. It was the same as everything else, but there's a lot of really cool stuff that happened that made it memorable for me.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was good. I think it was hit and miss at certain points. But overall, I kind of felt it was a good start to the new generation of consoles. Mm-hmm. And there were great moments, there were bad moments, there were truly horrible moments, horrific moments, but they were kind of the negatives were outbalanced by the positives. And I did really find it enjoyable. I think there's too many conferences, but we'll get onto that in a little bit. But
yeah,
overall,
I agree with that, by the way. Before that, it was pretty 8 conferences, enough said. Well, not really, because we have more to say, but
yeah.
But okay, all right. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started. So bear with us, guys. We might sidetrack a bit. This is going to be a pretty epic episode, like we mentioned earlier. It's a special, after all. So okay. So day one, which was technically pre-E3 because it was on Sunday, June 14th. The only conference that went up that day, aside from the Nintendo World Championship and the Smash Brothers announcement that happened, which, by the way, loved World Championship. I thought that was really...
the ending was fabulous with Mario Maker.
Yeah, Cosmo and what's his name again? It was I forgot the winner's name.
Yeah,
I was rooting for Cosmo because I love that guy. I watch him on Twitch.
He was struggling.
Dude,
in that
I know.
Final match.
I know.
When I was watching, I was like, oh my god, he is really struggling getting.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it looks hard, and it probably is hard. But I was just there how the hell is this other guy just storming through the entire? I was like.
You're talking about the first one, right? That was a puzzle at the end where you had to build up momentum and then make those jumps.
No, it's the one with the spikes during the last one that they had.
Oh yeah! Oh god, dude! The last one that crowned the winner. That was it was so painful to watch. Yeah, that guy just zipped. The winner zipped through. He won rightfully. I mean, he zipped through that. But yeah, Cosmo, my heart broke, man. I told Rebecca, I think I don't watch football, like American football, but I told Rebecca, like, I think for the first time I understand how my dad feels, like when he's watching it. That when you're rooting for your team, like it was the first time that genetic kicked in, and I was like, get him, go Cosmo, fuck. But it was a great opening to E3. I felt like that big conference, and I thought the Smash Brothers thing was pretty cool. But moving on to Bethesda, the first real conference. So Bethesda was pretty cool. I actually really liked them. It was actually one of my top 3 of the 8 conferences. This was their first conference, I believe, they've ever done at E3, and the 2 things that I took away from was Doom and Fallout 4. Doom was really weird because at first when it started playing, I had no interest at all. I'm not a big Doom fan or anything. But as it continued going, I'm like, this looks really fucking cool. And I think the E3 bug might have bit me, and I was like, oh my god, this is badass. Like, because graphically it looks impressive, which is what the Doom series is known for. I feel like in each entry of when it comes out, I think graphically it's pretty good. But on top of that, just, oh my god, dude, it really looked great, and I'm definitely keeping it. It's not a definite purchase, but it's definitely something I'm keeping an eye on. And the same thing happened to Fallout 4. I've never played a Fallout. I mean, I think we talked about this when we covered the Fallout 4 announcement a few weeks ago. I've never played a Fallout title before, except for like the one that wasn't even made by Bethesda, New Vegas. I played that for like 20 minutes, and I never played again. But I have to say, Fallout 4 really intrigued me. It looks really cool. And also, that was Roy Campbell at the beginning of the demo. Yeah. The salesman guy. I'm like, that's Roy Campbell. That's the voice actor. I'm like, Colonel Campbell's hooking us up. This is awesome. But so I gotta say, dude, it's really cool. It looks like a mixture. Like, it had some Mass Effect-esque vibes to it, which I really dug. And I'm very ignorant to the series, but it's definitely it intrigued me. I liked it. I thought it looked really cool, and it's definitely not a definitive purchase for me personally, but it's something I'm definitely going to keep an eye on as well. And that's pretty much all I got out of Bethesda, was just that.
I mean, they had a very solid conference as it was. It was just straightforward, and they got to the point. I think people liked that. We had an idea of what they were showing,
right?
And they just didn't really waste time, and it was really helpful for that. And I feel like that's what kind of Bethesda is always about. It's just, get straight to the point. Doom was impressive. I agree. I think it was really cool. I'm not really huge on shooter games anymore. I used to be a huge shooter fan, but I've really kind of been. I felt like the market's just been saturated with like too many Call of Duties and whatnot that I've kind of drifted away from it. But rekindled my interest very much into it, and I really, really enjoyed seeing it. Still hesitant as well, and a little bit pessimistic about it, because I think obviously the final product could be a little bit different. But again, it goes back to that mentality where it's Bethesda, and they have this kind of what you kind of see as normally the final product. So I did enjoy watching that. I did enjoy like the kind of kill animations and everything else. But moving into Fallout 4, I'm still not hugely sold on. I've never hugely been into the Fallout series. I enjoyed Fallout 3. I was kind of impressed with the kind of like long stage demo that they did, and I still think graphically it looks horrible. I think it looks I think I said it looks subpar, and people you can defend it all you want, but at the end of the day, if you want to challenge for Game of the Year, you have to have graphics in that department. You can't just like build a game like Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain, for example, and just say, you know what, this game is great in its story, but its graphics are average. I'm sort of a bit like,
No, I was gonna say I agree with you, dude. I thought the character models, like the characters themselves, looked almost like PS2. Like it was really awkward, or like early PS3, Xbox 360. The environments, though, I thought looked beautiful. I thought the environments, like the world around you, looked great. Which is good, because this is supposed to be semi-open world where you can kind of go anywhere. But yeah, dude, the character models, I mean, I kind of got afraid when they said they're launching in, what was it, October, I think, or November? They're launching this year. 10. Yeah, and it's like, oh, really? You guys are launching this year? Because that looks like something that would benefit from launching in March. Like, that's what I thought.
But it goes back to that point that I told you last week, where Bethesda don't really polish games.
Yeah,
like what you kind of, it's like what you kind of see is what you get. Not saying that it's a bad thing that the graphics aren't, brilliant. It's not taking away from the end product because you'll probably get like maybe 400 hours out of this if you're a hardcore Fallout fan.
Fuck yeah,
but it's just that thing where, I'm that kind of person that I remember first playing Final Fantasy 13 and whatever you say about that game, I sat there for like minutes on end, just like, watching the environment, just seeing things, where you see Cocoon and you see like, just Falsi and stuff like that, how the kind of artwork's there, the presentation, the designs, the aesthetics, the visuals, everything. It's like, it grabs me, pulls me into that world. I don't feel that Fallout really does that. But I was nonetheless, I was still very impressed with it. I think that they kind of like their free-to-play app that they showed as well during the conference. Was it Fallout Shelter?
Yeah, which launched that night, actually.
Yeah, on iOS, which was kind of great news as well. And it's not one of those freemium bullshits either, or like, full of microtransactions. It's just like literally, here's Fallout coming out, here's a lot of things like you mess around with. And it appealed to a lot of people who aren't in the mobile market, which says a lot of things about how effective they were. In that kind of how they've deployed that mobile game. But there were cool things as well, like you can play as a male and female, which like almost every game should be like when it's an RPG like that.
Yeah.
The release date was cool. The Pip-Boy Special Edition was shown as well, with a real life.
That's pretty, dude. It was pretty cool, man. And I liked how the guy who was on stage, his reaction was so genuine. Where he's like, "Look, it's the best fucking one. Okay, I'm sorry, I don't know how else to say." Like that was so genuine, and it was so like, I like you right now, like that kind of thing.
I like how I'm a huge admirer of people swearing. I do it quite a lot, and I drop like F-bombs everywhere in these podcasts. But I did like how they were dropping F-bombs and it felt human. It wasn't really that. It was rehearsed, but it wasn't rehearsed at the same time. If you get what I mean, like it just felt genuine. And that kind of reaction, as you say, where he's like, it's the fucking best one. Like we felt like that. We're like, yeah, that's pretty cool. So I felt like there was a lot of kind of like sincere moments in the press conference. I really.
Yeah, it wasn't like, I am very excited to announce blah, 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 where we get the experience. I hate it when people talk like that. Who talks like that? Like, we're not like, we are very excited to tell you guys that today's episode is a special. We've been, like, it's so, like, why do they keep, I don't know. It's so, like, you're fake, fuck you.
Yeah, like yeah, I've always kind of had this thing where, some people just kind of show off for the sake of it. It's just you don't be too obvious with it when you try to put something on because we're not stupid. Yeah. But yeah, it was really good. I mean, I didn't really care about the Elder Scrolls announcement. It was the Elder Scrolls Legends free-to-play card game, whatever it was. I really didn't give a shit about that.
Yeah.
And then the other big news was Dishonored 2.
Huge news. I understood that it was big, but me personally, I didn't care because I've never played the first one, and I wasn't interested in the thing. But I was happy. I was happy though for Dishonored fans, though.
If you haven't played it, they also announced a Dishonored Definitive Edition, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One.
Oh man, just the way for me to get into the series before the second one. Oh man.
So yeah, Definitive Edition was announced. That was big news, and then also Dishonored 2 in itself. Funnily enough, did you see how it leaked before the conference?
No, actually, I didn't catch that.
During that pre-E3 like screening, they
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, okay, I remember. It leaked and it was audio only, and they're like, your mics are on. And he's like, oh fuck. Then they cut it off. That was classic E3 blunder. Like that's a story we'll be telling for years.
It's almost as good as a political scandal when the microphone's left on. I'll just say something. But yeah, that was really funny. But I mean, like, I like the idea of Dishonored 2. I think it's cool that there's two characters now. Including what's her name now? Emily Caldwin from the first game, and Kovo Atano from the original Dishonored. I think Emily Caldwin's from the first game. But yeah, those two characters are playable, and that was a really cool mechanic that they're showing off and how they have different kind of abilities. And it's a big announcement for Bethesda, and it was one of the big ones we kind of thought was coming from them as well.
Yeah, no. I mean, it was. I think you said it best, man, when you said that Bethesda basically it was like. They picked the best games in their lineup to talk about, and they just presented it all. They didn't ever stay in one spot so long that you got bored. mobile was mentioned ever so briefly, and they moved along, and I think that's the way you got to go. They never stopped too much at one thing in particular, and I like that a lot. I thought it was it was my third favorite conference of all 8, so that's saying a lot.
I'd put it in my top 3.
Yeah. But okay, cool. So I guess that's it for Bethesda. We'll go and move on to, and that was actually it for day 1. Day 2 had the most conferences. It had 4 of them.